The next type of constructors is copy constructor. Okay, what is copy constructor? It's a type of constructor that initializes an object using another object of the same class. Okay, there is a object student. For the student class, I am creating object S1 with two values ABC and 30. Okay, I want to copy the content of this object S1 into another object S2, so it is copying it. So how do you copy contents of one object into another object? For this also you can define a constructor which will automatically run that particular function. We are saying that constructors are some special functions. As soon as and when you create an object, immediately that default or that function, the default function is being executed automatically, right? So here in this case, I want to copy the contents of one object S1 into another object S2. If there are small values, it's okay. If two values or three values, it's okay. I can even write S2 dot name equal to S1 dot name, S2 dot roll number equal to S1 dot roll number. That way we can do it. But if there are multiple, we cannot do it. So we have to copy the contents of S1 into S2. For that we use copy constructor. Okay, what is this copy constructor? That initializes an object using another object. How it does? A constructor which creates an object by initializing it with an object of same class, okay, which has been created previously. That object should have been created, it should have some values. Only then those contents of that object can be assigned to this particular new object. Okay, the process of initializing members of an object through a copy constructor is called copy initialization. The process of initializing the members of a new object using the copy constructor concept is called copy initialization. Okay, it is also called as member wise initialization. Why? See, S1 dot name contains Raj, S1 dot roll number contains 1001. These two things I want to copy into new object S2. Okay, it's like member wise initialization, copying S1 dot name into S2 dot name, copying S1 dot roll number into S2 dot roll number, right? We are trying to copy names into one by one. That's why it is referred as member wise initialization, because the copy constructor initializes one object with the existing object. Both belong to same class on a member by member copy basis. Name first, then roll number, then something else. What all parameters are there, they are copied one by one into the new object. Okay, the condition here is that both S1 and S2 should belong to same class. Sorry, both S1 and S2 should belong to same class, right? This is the concept of copy constructor. What is the syntax here? See, class name, constant, class name, object. Okay, we will understand this with much better with an example, right? So member 1 equal to object dot member 1. We will see this again, it is in technical terms, but when you see an example, you understand it much better. Okay, copy constructors can be done in two ways. Okay, it can be done in two ways. Let me go to the easiest example first. See here, see this example, how we are implementing the concept of copy constructor. There is a class sample, there is a private member ID, there is a private member ID. So in public, what is the class name? Sample. There is a class name sample, right? See, did I define any constructor with name? If I want to define a constructor, I definitely have to write with the class name only, something with some statements like this. I definitely have to define with the class name only. Class name is sample means constructor should also have the same name, sample. Okay, but not a different type here. See how we are implementing copy constructor without even using the function of class name. See, sample object obj1. Okay, I created object obj1. Okay, object 1 dot init 10. Object 1 dot init 10. So there is a function, public function init. I am passing 10 to that function. I am passing 10 to that function. What will happen? This private member ID will contain 10 now. So obj1 dot that ID will contain 10. It is what way is this? It is one way of assigning a value to a private data member using a public function. It is like it is assigning value to a private data member using a public function. This we have studied long back. So I am creating an object obj1, I am passing value 10 to this. Using this function in it, I am trying to assign value to the private data member of using object 1 like this. This is okay, fine. After this, what is happening? I am displaying it. So display ID means it is giving a value as 10. I am happy with that. Now you see, I am creating another object obj2 of the same class sample. Of the same class sample, I am creating another object obj2. But what is the argument? What is the argument for that? Object 2, it is object 1. The argument for object 2 is object 1. See, you are creating an object obj2, and you are passing the object 1 here as the input. But when we write like this, is there any constructor defined here? No. Without even defining a constructor, this is possible. What it will do? That content, whatever the object 1 contains, that is copied into object 2. So what is there is only one variable ID. There is only one variable ID. So object ID equal to 10. Object ID equal 10. So object 2 dot ID will also contain 10 as the value. Right? Without even a constructor, what was the job? See, when we studied copy constructor concept, when we started learning this, what I said? I said that copy constructor is used to copy the contents of one object into another object. For that, this is a proof that you need not define explicitly a constructor. You need not define it. Still using writing this way, object 2 of object 1. The contents of object 1 will be copied into contents of object 2. But anyway, it is satisfying the goal of my copy constructor, right? My copy constructor's agenda was, the idea was that to copy the content of one object into another object. I am doing it directly without even defining a constructor. So by this way also you can do it. Okay, so what is happening here? When I say object 1 dot display, it will give me 10. But when I give object 2 dot display, now also it will give 10. Why? I wrote here like this, sample of object 2 passing arguments as object 1. I am doing it like this. So it is copying the content of object 1 into object 2 without defining a constructor. How is it work? How is this able to copy? It is copying with the help of a default constructor which compiler is creating. If you remember, I said if you are not defining a constructor in the class, compiler will automatically create a default constructor based on the requirement. Based on the scenario, it will automatically create a constructor. Okay, so with the default constructor which the compiler implicitly creates with itself without our involvement, with that constructor this copying is able to happen. This copying logic is working with that constructor which compiler is automatically creating without our involvement. So we need not define a constructor here. Why? My objective is satisfied. My objective was to copy content from one object to other object, which I am able to do it like this without even defining a constructor. But if you want to define it, if you want to write the logic of copying the content from object 1 to object 2, you can define a constructor with the name of sample. You can define a constructor with the name of class and you can write the logic there. Okay, so this is one example to show that the implementation of copy constructor can be done without explicitly defining a constructor for copying the contents. Simply write object 2 of object 1. When you do, compiler automatically creates a default default constructor, and with that it assigns the value. Okay, this is one example. But now I want to learn how do I write the logic. I don't want compiler to automatically create. I want to write. I myself want to write a copy constructor logic. by defining a function here. Inside the class, I want to define a copy constructor using the class name. I want to do that. How we do it? How do we try to create a copy constructor inside the class? Okay, let's see this example for that. Let's try to understand this example. See, I have a class student with roll number, name and fee. Roll number, name and fee, right? Then I'll directly go here to main. Okay, I came to main here. In main, I'm writing S1, 1000, some Manjit and 10,000. Some name I gave here. 1001, Manjit and 10,000. What will happen here? There should be a default parameterized constructor. There should be a parameterized constructor. Yes, there is a parameterized constructor. See this line, student int string double, but I define the body outside. This is a parameterized constructor, but I defined outside the class. That's why I used class name, scope resolution operator and the constructor name. Okay, so with the help of this parameterized constructor, I am passing 1001, name and 10,000. Now, after this, what is happening? I am writing s1.display. Display is a public function. Yes, yeah, display is a public function. So with this display function, I am displaying roll number, name and fee. Job is done. But now you see, I wrote student S2 of S1. Student S2 of S1. I am passing object S1 as an argument to object S2. So if there is a default constructor, it will execute that. If there is no, if there is a copy constructor defined, that will be executed when I write like this. But if there is no copy constructor defined, it will automatically copy. So I have written here explicitly like this. I have written here explicitly like this. See, student, what is the syntax here? Student is the name of the function. Constructor name will be the class name, student, and student ampersand t. Student ampersand t, because I am passing the reference. I am passing the reference of the first object S1. So I am receiving it in a address t. I am receiving it in a variable t. Okay, as a reference. So this roll number is equal to t dot roll number, which is there. What is t dot roll number? T dot roll number is nothing but S1 dot roll number. T dot roll number is S1 dot roll number. Then name equal T dot name, that is S1 dot name. T dot fee, that is S1 dot fee. Those things I have assigned here. And I am writing a special message here, copy constructor called. Okay, even if I don't write this, block, still the contents of S2 will be copied into S1. The content of S1 will be copied into S1. The content of S1 will be copied into S2 object like this. But since I defined it explicitly, compiler will not call its default one. It will execute my block, what I wrote. There I am simply writing the logic of copying. So 1001 will go into S2 dot roll number, S2 dot name will contain Manjit, S2 dot fee will contain 10,000. Along with that, additionally to differentiate between the default constructor which the compiler executes and the constructor which manually we are defining, I wrote a printf statement. I am writing one printing statement, copy constructor called. So with this, now the content of one object are copied into another object. Even if you define it, okay. If you don't define it, still okay. The content will be copied by the default constructor. Okay, so this is about the copy constructor. It is the main purpose of this is to copy content from one object to the another object, right?